All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sparring Sessions podcast, breaking down everything MMA, a little bit of boxing, a little bit of Muay Thai, whatever one championship is doing this week. My name's Dax. I'm joined as always by my co-host Big Will.
What's
Will,
going
how
on,
you doing
guys?
today?
I'm doing all right, man. Hanging in there. Got some liquid energy here,
Ooh,
and I'm
light one
ready
too.
to rip. So
Ready to rip. I have to address the elephant in the room. Will, the fans are clamoring for it. Where's the Tesla? Why are you in a house?
where's the Tesla, man? I felt like I had to switch it up and be in a
Switch it up.
house. Had to
Yeah.
be in a house for this one. So
Well, I like it. The card. I'll throw up the graphic here or the ticker. We're jumping in. We're doing picks and predictions for UFC Fight Night. Rodrigues versus Cannonier. UFC Apex. Uh, kind of a little bit better than some of the Apexy cards we've been getting, but UFC Apex nonetheless. 13 fights, 7 out of 26 ranked. Now, Will, I want you to guess. There were also 26 fights on, or sorry, 26 fighters on last week's UFC 312 card. How many of them do you think were ranked?
I know the answer to this question. I
Did
think
you?
that's four.
Four. The
Four.
top four.
Yeah.
But so seven,
That is crazy. And then I think there was eight. There was eight the week before in Saudi Arabia. I think
yep,
as a fight night.
with
So
less fights too on that Saudi card. So
unfortunate.
goes to tell you some, maybe a little bit more about 312 than about this card, but we're not here to talk about 312. Go back and listen to our extensive coverage of UFC 312 if you want to know more, our recap, our predictions. We're here to talk about Gregory Robocop Rodrigues and Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla. Now, before we jump into the fights, I try to do something a little fun with this light. I have a LED RGB light back here. I was trying to think of the perfect color for this card, and for some reason I settled on purple. Why do you, if you had to pick a color for this event, and it's not beige, you can't pick beige because it's in the UFC APEC. What color are you picking?
Uh, I mean, Gregory and Jared definitely give me purple, so
Purple? Yeah,
I'll go
that was kind
I'll
of my
go
thought.
I'll go with purple too.
Quick little fun note before we jump into a fun, some might call it fight, women's bantamweight. Number 12 ranked Julia Avila is a plus 310 underdog against number 13 ranked Jacqueline Cavalcanti, minus 395. Uh, Avila coming off a bit of a layoff. She got, one might say, creamed last time against Misha Tate. Jacqueline Cavalcanti, a little bit of a win streak here. Two ranked women. Well, I'm going to ask you two questions about the fight. First, obviously, who are you picking? Second, can you believe both of these women are top 15 ranked UFC women's bantamweights?
I don't know if you know this, Dax, but I used to be a pretty big fan of Julia Avila. I used to
Really?
love betting on her. I really liked her before she had that long hiatus that she had, and um,
Yep.
but I think in the time that she's gone away, I think the sport has passed her up a little bit. Um, getting beat by an old Misha Tate. Maybe she wasn't in the best shape or this or that. I don't know. I do think the sport passed her up. I think she's a little older now. She had a kid, and that can really wreck your body. I don't know about it by firsthand experience. I'm a man, and I don't have to mansplain pregnancies, but um, yeah, I used to really like Avila. I mean, I still do, but I don't know if I can confidently pick her in big fights like this because uh Cavalcanti is really good. And I will be picking Cavalcanti for sure.
Yeah, I'm going Cavalcanti as well. I mean, Avila, two fights since 2020, over a year layoff, looked horrible against Misha Tate, and that was a pretty old Misha Tate, even at that time.
Yeah.
It's Jacqueline Cavalcanti. The momentum's all on her side. The line, this isn't our betting show. We'll talk about the bets when we get there. I feel like the theme of this episode is going to be, at least for me, maybe some spoilers here. I'm picking the favorite, but not liking the line at all.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of weird lines in this card. And we'll definitely talk about it, that's for sure.
We will. Jumping into one, we might. This might be a theme for this next fight too, all the way up to heavyweight. Number 14 ranked Dontel Mays, a plus 150 underdog against number 14, also ranked Valter Walker, minus 150 favorite, minus 180 favorite, excuse me. Dontel Mays, I believe it's Lord Kong now. It was King Kong and then just Kong. And I think we're on Lord Kong now. And Valter Walker, brother of UFC light heavyweight stalwart, I'm going to go with. Perennially ranked top contender, sure. Johnny Walker. I'll kind of start us off here. This is a tough one for me. This is a real tough one. You know, both guys, I don't want to say they both suck, but neither of them are very good. Dontel Mays coming off that loss to Shamil Gaziv, let me just double check this. Yeah, 2-3 in his last five with a no contest before that against GOAT Hamdi Abdel Wahab, in which he lost the fight. And Valter Walker coming off a weird heel hook over Junior Tafa. Not phenomenal showing. I mean, he won. I'm going to go Dontel Mays here. I think he's going to make this a bit of a, wow, these are sloppy fatties. No offense to either guy, but this is sloppy heavyweight at its finest. And I think Dontel Mays is going to turn this into a sloppy heavyweight fight. And
Hey man, I speak for all sloppy fatties out there. This could be a fun fight. Um, I don't know. Walker looks like he's in a lot better shape. If you look at his Instagram, Dontel Mays, based on his last five fights, he's due for a win because he's been alternating losses and wins. I could see him definitely winning this fight, especially late, because I think he carries his power well late into fights, especially after that 7 minute mark where a lot of heavyweights tend to slow down, like we've seen Walter Walker do. I have a really hard time picking who wins this fight. Mays has power. Um, if it goes to decision, it, I don't think it'll go his way. But I do think there will be a finish in this fight, a late finish, and I think that really favors Dontel Mays. And I think after your conversation with me earlier, I think I'm gonna go Dontel Mays as well.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Walker. I don't think of him much. He's gonna have to show me. He's really
yeah,
gonna have to show me. So yeah.
yeah. I agree. Let's not talk anymore about that fight. On to our next fight. Maybe a little bit more exciting on paper. Bantamweight's always a fun division. Always guys coming to scrap, and these two certainly do. Vince Morales made it back to the UFC plus 190 versus Elijah Smith minus 230. Coming off, this is his debut in the UFC, coming off a win against Aaron Tao in the Contender Series. Morales coming off a loss against Taylor Lapilus. Made it back to the UFC after some great regional wins. Will another weird one, another vet versus a call him an up and comer. I believe he's a bit old, but still an up and comer. Who you got here?
I think the odds makers are disrespecting Morales a bit. He's had some really tough
Yeah.
fights. Um, I will start it off by saying I do lean Morales in this fight. Um, Smith was underwhelming against Tao because to begin that fight, he probably should have got him out of there. Tao, I don't know if you know this, but Tao is not that great. He's made a career off beating guys like you and me. Um, and that's saying something. I don't think Smith is top tier. Um, so I definitely think Morales can win a decision in this fight. That's the way I'm gonna go. Um, yeah, these contender series guys, they have a couple fights. It's hard to go against the guys that have three times the amount of fights that you have. And that's not even just for this fight. That's for any of these guys,
Yeah,
because Morales doesn't have a pretty record in 16-8, but Elijah Smith's 7-1. It's it's not that far off. He's got three times the experience.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Morales in this fight.
Yeah. I I was back and forth here. I should correct myself. Elijah Smith actually 22 years old, younger than me, younger than you. Not an older prospect. Definitely a prospect. I'm gonna go with him. I might be looking at a Vince Morales bet. We haven't made our betting show yet. We'll behind the scenes. This might come up. Elijah Smith definitely had size and skill on Tau and Contender Series, but he gassed out pretty hard. He lost that third round when, like you said, he should have put
Yeah,
Tau away pretty early. And Morales, nothing if not, you know, a vet. He's going to bring it the first round just as much as the third round. And if
no doubt
Elijah Smith
about it.
gets tired, I don't know. I think Morales could take over. Maybe I'm looking at a round three finish or something, but that's for a different episode. So jump up a little bit in weight to welterweight. Gabriel Bonfim minus 205 versus Chaos Williams plus 170. This is a short notice fight. Gabriel Bonfim was supposed to fight Renat Fakudinov. Renat pulled out, and we get Chaos Williams on, I believe, some like 3 weeks notice. So nothing super short. Chaos Williams fighting more than once a year. He has been pretty inactive, coming off a great knockout over Jeremiah Wells in Jeremiah Wells. Who's Jeremiah Wells? Not Carlson Harris, right? I'll look it up later. Either way,
Wait,
coming
what
off
did
of
you say?
Chaos Williams, his last win was against.
It was Carlston,
It
yeah.
was Carlson Harris.
That was on the same card as chat friend Tuco Tokos. We
Go.
spent I spent me and Ong La spent a good time talking to Chaos Williams' coach. They're really good guys over there, so I will say
Yeah,
that they're awesome.
Williams got a good story. Bonfim, on the other hand, one of two brothers who are competing on this card. We'll talk about his younger brother later. Um, Coming off of a win, he is a guy who uh, got, for lack of a better word, fraud checked by Nicholas Dalby, and then beat pod favorite Anj Lusa in his last fight. Pineapple God.
Pineapple God, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Chaos Williams here. He's got the power. I think he has the cardio. I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but it's got to be better than Bonfim's, and he hasn't been awful at defending takedowns. I mean, he's been taken down, but he's never been subbed. And I don't. I think if Bonfim doesn't get him out of here early, Chaos is just gonna club him eventually.
Yeah, I agree. Bonfim burns hot. Um, and I have this written down. I said both can be underwhelming. Both are finishers. I think the more ways to win, you'd have to go with Bonfim, which is usually a
Yeah.
good thing. But I think Chaos has such an equalizer in his in his power in his hands that I think that'll be enough to get him the win. So I'm also going Chaos Williams.
All righty. I like it. Next up, flyweight, all the way down there. Rafael Estevam minus 310 against Jesus Aguilar. I'm gonna guess plus 250. Estevam undefeated in the UFC. Well, undefeated in general. He's 12-0, coming off a win against Charles Johnson. It's been a while. November 2023. He missed weight for that fight, so something to keep an eye on. He's fighting Jesus Aguilar. Um, Aguilar coming off a rear naked choke win against Stuart Nickel. He's been a pretty big underdog in a lot of his fights, but he is 3-1 in the UFC with a win on Contender Series, and his only loss is to Tetsuro Taira, which is aged pretty well. This one, the odds kind of were, they made me very hesitant. Do you agree? And are you going with the big favorite?
I'm not. I'm going with Jesus Aguilar because I have a habit of betting against him and losing. So I think Esteban was a bit underwhelming against Charles Johnson, and he missed weight. Uh, Aguilar, I think, can definitely get the upset here. He's really good, and he has shown that he can play spoiler. And like you said, his only loss is against Tetsuro Taira, who's really damn good. And
Yeah,
um, other people haven't been able to get him out of there in the UFC, and I don't feel bad about betting on a guy like Aguilar at those odds.
yeah. I am also with you. I'm picking Aguilar. Definitely betting him. I mean, he's been a betting underdog, and I believe all of his fights. Yeah, plus 185, plus 105. Oh, he was a favorite against Shannon Ross. Excuse me, plus 165.
How dare
I
we?
think I think he's got some wrestling. I think he's got that Mexican cardio, that Mexican chin. And Estevam hasn't really impressed me. I mean, Charles Johnson's a very good win, but he didn't look phenomenal in that
No, he
fight,
did
plus the
not.
third round, and almost got 10-8'd in that third round. And his contender series win, well, first off, was a long time ago. He's taken a lot of time off. And also, the guy just kind of quit. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't rate those wins highly. So I'm with you. I'm going to Jesus Aguilar.
Question, where did you get your belt order? I have to ask you this.
Bout order, UFC.com.
Okay, I went through Tapology, so all my notes are in
Tapology.
in order of Tap.
Tapology is a bit strange. It has don't get me wrong, the UFC bout order is weird. I mean, we have some very notable names on the prelims and on the main card, some questionable names. We'll talk about that when we get there.
I don't think any of
Yeah,
that stuff gets finalized until like the Wednesday of fight week.
exactly. So going off the UFC, it probably will change. Um, but yeah, uh, next fight on the prelims. And gonna have to stop you there, past Dax. This is future Dax popping in. Unfortunately, this fight I was about to break down between Jared Gordon and Kauê Fernandes is now off. Kauê Fernandes has pulled out, I believe, with an injury as of Tuesday noon when I'm editing this. No new opponent for Jared Gordon has been announced. They've said that they're looking into it. Probably won't update y'all if he does get a new opponent, unless it's somebody notable. But yeah, as of now, this fight is off, and yeah, I'm doing a voiceover for Will and I breaking down the fight. Anyway, on to the next one. Another one. Odds are a bit strange for me. I'm guessing. Don't spoil anything ahead of time. It's your turn, but I'm guessing we're going to be in sync on this one. If I know you at all, we're going to be on sync on this one.
I have an idea which one this is.
Number 13th ranked Angela Hill is a minus 120 against Ketlen Souza. Angela Hill, you know her, you love her, the vet, 40 years young, coming off of a loss to Tabitha Ricci, 2 wins in a row before that, storied UFC career. You know, everything you could say in the word vet at women's strawweight. Uh,
That's
Caitlin
true.
Souza, 1-2 in the UFC. Or sorry, 2-1 in the UFC, coming off a pretty big upset. She was plus 380 against Yasmin Haragi. You remember she knocked her down and then put her to sleep pretty quickly. Um, yeah, interesting fight. I mean, I let's not blade any longer. Well, tell us why you're picking Angela Hill.
Angela Hill's my girl, man. I love her. I've always been a big fan of her. I don't think I've ever picked against her in any of our chat picks. I always pick
Interesting.
Angela Hill all the time. There's certain fighters that I will just always pick them no matter what. Anthony
Yeah,
Smith, Angela Hill, Donald Cerrone, always picking those guys.
of course.
Derek Lewis, you know how it goes. Um, Souza, there's something that I noticed about her. Let me pull this up real quick. I feel like especially in the lighter weight classes. She has a 15-4 record. All four losses are by finish. That's not good, especially at the lower weight
Yeah.
classes. If you have like three, four, five, six losses and they're all by finish, that is not a good sign. Um, I think Angela Hill's going to show that she's the vet here. I think the odds should be doubled what they are. I could see if Angela Hill was minus 240 in this fight, would you be surprised?
No, I don't know.
So I don't know. I think she got a tough fight against Karine Silva, Newar. That's gonna happen. I remember that was a nasty one. I think her knee
Yeah.
got pulled out of place. It was like a
Yep.
inverted knee bar. It was really bad.
Bad.
Um, she beat Marty Command, possibly one of the worst women to be on the roster. No knock on her. Shout out Marnik Man, but
Shout out.
it's all love. But she fought Yasmin Yaragi.
Mhm.
She hasn't looked great in her losses. She's only had two of them, but she definitely has not looked great in those losses. I don't think she looked great against Sam Hughes. Um, yeah, man, I think her getting caught against Denise Gomes has definitely been a bit detrimental to her and her style. So I don't know if I exactly rate her. That was in the Sphere, wasn't it, when she beat Yasmin? I'm almost certain.
Yeah, that was in the sphere.
She dropped her and choked her out or something like that.
Yep.
I think Angela Hill, is going to keep it on the feet. She's been submitted twice, so I mean, Angela Hill just got a submission not too long ago. And speaking of Jared Gordon from the fight prior, him getting these close decisions away from him, Angela Hill is constantly getting fights that are close taken away from her, fights that are clearly her taken away from her.
Yeah.
Um, and I really hope that's not the case in this fight because Angela Hill is very talented. She's getting a little bit up there in age, but I think her style lends it to be, her to be able to be, her longevity and her career. Um, you know, let's look at her last few fights. You got Tabitha Ritchie decision, could have went her way. She just beat Denise Gomes.
Yeah.
Mackenzie Dern, she did not look good in, but you go
Yeah.
Verna Jandaroba, close fight. Amanda Lemos, she won that shit. Tisha Pennington, close fight. Like it just goes
Yeah.
on and on and on and on and on. And it's really unfortunate for her. So
It
I'm
is.
definitely going Angela Hill, that's for sure.
And you were mentioning the losses. A trend there I'm going to call out. Mostly grapplers. Mostly grapplers. She's losing to women who take her down, hold her down there, and she's beating. I mean, this is kind of like her fighting Denise Gomes again. The finisher, Souza's, I want to say eight. Yeah, eight of her
Yeah.
wins are by knockout. Angela Hill's never been knocked out. She is tough as she can be.
Yep.
And if it goes to the ground, I mean, we've seen Angela Hill. She just got a finish there. I'm not betting that to happen. Granted, it was her first submission ever and her first finish in a while. But I think this is a pretty clear spot for Angela Hill. That experience, tough,
No
whatever you
doubt.
want to call it. So we're in agreement there. This next one, maybe jumping on the main card. I don't know why this is on the main card. Connor Matthews at featherweight versus Jose Delgado.
This will be
Uh,
like the first three fights of the night, if not the first fight of the night. I can guarantee that. There's
I
no
really,
shot.
I hope so.
No shot.
Connor Matthews. I should say we don't have odds for this fight. Weirdly, the rest of
Yeah.
the odds have been out for days. They usually come out. Call it the Wednesday or Thursday before, a week before the fight.
Yeah.
No odds. We'll play a little bit of odds guessing game here. Not that it matters. I mean, this isn't our betting show, but always a fun game. Um, Connor Matthews coming off he got knocked out by Dennis Bazooka, famed knockout artist, and
I
he
was there for that
lost.
live. It was a good knockout.
It was a good knockout, but that doesn't show too great on him.
No, it did
Also
not.
lost to Francis Marshall. Kind of a, I don't know, strange fighter, I'll say. And then he's fighting Jose Delgado. Delgado coming off a knee knockout on the Contender Series, 7-1. It's looked very good. Knocked out a Lucas Faria, who I liked in LFA, very good prospect at one point. I'm going Delgado here. I think this is going to be like a minus 200 Delgado, something like that. Connor Matthews, no offense, he's not very good. I
Yeah.
mean, what is his skill? Wrestling? Maybe his toughness. He's one of those New England cartel guys where their skill is getting punched in it's the Homer Simpson. They get punched in the face until their opponent gets tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Will? Pick and what do you think the odds are?
Um, if I had the best, guess the odds. I definitely think that they would be like 200 to minus 200 to minus 300 for Delgado. I think Delgado is probably going to come in here and dust Conor Matthews up.
Yeah.
Um, I don't really think much of Conor Matthews. I don't know much about him, but those guys, those prospects that come out of New England aren't good. They haven't been good. Um, it's not a great uh, cultivating
Region.
environment
Yeah.
of regional talent to get brought into the UFC, especially when they only got less than 10 fights.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day. Um, yeah, I think Delgado's gonna come in and handle Conor Matthews pretty easily.
Yeah. Don't need to spend any much more time on this. Not a great fight. Hopefully, quick win for Delgado. Yeah. Definitely a more interesting fight. Names we know for sure. Middleweight, Rodolfo Vieira, minus 205 versus Andre Petroski, plus 170. This is also a short notice fight. Petroski is coming in for Jacob Malkoun to fight Rodolfo Vieira, I think a month or so. So not super short notice, not week of or anything. Vieira, famed submission artist, uh, multiple world championship Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt hunter. Um, he is coming off a win against Armin Petrosian, arm triangle choke. Before that, arm triangle of Cody Brundage. Also coming off a grappling win against Derek Brunson, also an arm triangle choke. So tells you something about his submission that he likes. And he's coming off again, or he's fighting Andre Petroski, who's he had a weird 2024. I'll say that he had that incredibly strange hip knockout against Jacob Malkoun, which I mean, discount that fight. They're that finish. He beat Josh Fremd, beat Dylan Budka, and lost to Pat Downey. Shout out Pat Downey in grappling, I should say, in not in MMA, in grappling. Um, this is another one. The odds really surprised me. It's your turn. I think I think I know where you're going with this, but is Petroski your pick here, Will?
Yeah, Petroski is my pick for sure. He's a local guy. His girlfriend actually knows some of my friends, so
Oh,
that's how local he is to me. I remember speaking to him in Denver last year for our friend Lusa and Evan Elder's fight. I was in their
yeah.
weight cutting room with them. Great guy. He's hanging around guys like Joe Pfeiffer and that crew over there, Sean Brady. And I think it does give you an edge when you come in here and fight a guy at this high level because Vieira is good, but I also think he's had some good matchups against him in the last couple fights. Um, I do think Petrosky's found a style that's safe and he can do it pretty well with his physicality
Mm-hmm.
and his wrestling pedigree. I do think Petrosky grinds him out and he rinses and repeats what he's done his last two fights. Um, and maybe he makes Rodolfo work, and maybe he submits the black belt hunter late into that fight. I don't think I think Petrosky's gotten that cardio question under control for the most part prior to his career or earlier in his career that he may have had. But yeah, I do think Petrosky those odds is attractive. So yeah, give me Petrosky for a late finish or decision.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would pick him straight up. Love the odds. I mean, spoiler alert, he's going to be on. He's going to be one of my bets on our bet show. He is, I think, better on the feet. I mean, Vieira has not looked good on the feet in any of the fights he's been in. He's also not the best takedown artist, which against Petroski, especially, and somebody who is a grappler. I think he Petroski can win this. The cardio thing you said, Vieira's definitely got worse cardio than Petroski. Um, and I kind of see this a little bit like a higher level version of the Petroski versus Gerald Meerschaert fight, a bit of a higher level version, at least in
Whoa,
the
whoa, whoa,
submission
whoa,
skills.
whoa.
At least in the submission skills.
No,
Okay.
no Uncle Gerald slander over here, okay?
Hey, that was a phenomenal fight. We were there live.
Yes, it was. It was a great, great fight.
Um, so Yeah, I am with you on Andre Petroski. I don't know why he's a big underdog.
I mean, if the odds were flipped, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't
No,
question it, I don't think.
I don't know. Next one, I don't know if we're gonna agree. I don't know. Um, Lightweight Ismael Bonfim -135 versus Nazim Sadykhov +114. Bonfim, the second Bonfim brother, obviously Gabriel, his older brother, fighting on this card. He is he's 2-1 in the UFC. He had that rear naked choke loss to Benoit Saint Denis. Bonfim did, and beat Terrence McKinney in his debut with that crazy flying knee. And then a little bit more measured an approach against Vince Pichel last time out. He got the dub, but a little bit more measured. Sadykhov on the other side, very, very good in the UFC so far. He beat Evan Elder, one of our favorites, very good fighter. That was a cut stoppage. It was a weird one though.
Evan Elder was also up 2 rounds on him.
He was.
Not to knock Sadykhov, but more to uplift our friend Evan Elder.
Exactly. Love Evan Elder. He
Yeah.
also beat Terrence McKinney, also in the second round. And then he had that weird fight with Slaviklaus, Visha Borchev, where I thought he won. He had a 10-8 in there, and I thought he did enough to win one of the rounds against Slaviklaus, world champion kickboxer or Muay Thai, one of the two. It's my turn. I'll kick us off here. Close enough. I went back and forth on this one for a while. I think I'm going Nazim Sadykhov here. I'm not super confident. I flip-flopped on this. We were talking about this earlier. I flip-flopped on this one pretty hard. The only thing that kind of flipped me towards Sadykhov was he's a little bit bigger than Bonfim. I think he's a bit better of a wrestler. Maybe not better of a grappler, but definitely a better wrestler. And I don't know. It's a weird fight. Sadykhov, maybe he hangs with him on the feet. I mean, he hung on the feet with Slaviklaus, but if you listen to last week's episode, I think Slaviklaus is just kind of done and has been for a while. So I know your feelings on that one, but
man.
Yeah, weird one. I'm going Sadykhov, not confident at all. What about you?
I'm also going Sadykhov. Um, I think he's shown more than Bonfim in the UFC so far. I think he's impressed me more. Um, Getting choked out by Benoit Saint Denis first round, whatever, gonna happen. And finishing Terrence McKinney, awesome, gonna happen if you get McKinney out of the first 3 minutes. And then this fight against Pichel, kind of a stinker. It doesn't really fly off the page for me. Like I said, Sadikhov's fights have definitely impressed me more, and I'm gonna go with him. I'm gonna go Sadykhov. I don't have much to say about it, but yeah, I feel pretty confident in saying Sadykhov is gonna win that fight.
All right. Next up, middleweight, Edmen Shahbazyan. Big favorite, -278 against Dylan Budka, +225. These odds surprised me. I mean, Sadykhov, or not Sadykhov, what am I saying? Shahbazyan was a very high prospect once upon a time, 10-0, 13-5 now. I mean, he's lost, what would this be?
I mean, you can't knock him for his last loss.
5 of his last 7. His only wins are against AJ Dobson and Dolce Lungiambula, both notable, former champions, best of the best. I'm just kidding. It's definitely a fall from grace, and he's fighting a guy. His last loss was, you mentioned, against Gerald Meerschaert. Kind of, won the first round, not by a ton. I mean, he hurt Gerald, but then he just gassed out. Gerald got him down, took over, did his thing, arm triangle choke into the second round. And Budka, not impressive at all in the UFC. He was one of those guys where he won on the Contender Series, but just didn't impress anybody at all. And so he didn't get he did get a contract. I'm mixing him up with somebody. He got a contract, wasn't impressive. 2 losses in the UFC, Cesar Almeida, most recently Andre Petroski, where he blew weight. Seems like they're kind of setting up Edmen again. Do you think this is the right fight to set Edmen up for?
Yeah, I think Edmen needs to get him out of there quick.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely the recipe to his career. I don't have much to say. Budka kind of sucks, man. He
yeah.
he stinks. He just wants to hold people against the cage and not do much else with it, which is not fun to watch. Um, I want to see him fight SD Dumas, Rodrigues Dumas, at some point, because I know they've talked shit to each other here and there. But you know, I don't know. Edmund should knock him out, really, if I'm being honest. If Cesar Almeida can do it, which up until his last fight hasn't been super impressive in the UFC.
Yeah,
Um, Up until his last fight, that was wow.
that was
Um,
great.
but yeah, dude, Edmund should come in here and floor him in the first round.
That's the thought. This is definitely one of those.
But I
I
mean,
have
with
to see
Edmund is like, you don't
exactly.
know. But yeah,
I'm picking Shahbazyan. Is one of those. No way am I touching this line. Budka could easily hold him up against the cage for 3 rounds or get a split decision. I might for the betting. Spoiler alert! I haven't looked. I haven't seen if these odds have dropped. I'm guessing not. I might look at like a Edmund round one or Budka. They have those Budka and over 1.5 rounds props.
yeah, yeah.
I'd kind of look at those splits. This is Shabazzian's pick, but gross. Gross is what I'm going to say about this fight.
Stinky.
A much, much better fight in the co-main event, featherweight. Number 10 ranked Calvin Kattar plus 310 against Youssef Zalal minus 395. Kattar coming off that, I'm going to call it tepid decision loss to Aljamain Sterling, where he just got held down. There were barely any strikes the entire fight. Just got held down by Aljo for 3 rounds. Before that, hurt his knee, hurt his torn ACL against Arnold Allen. Before that, split decision loss to Josh Emmett. I thought he won, but that's still 3 losses in a row. He's a little bit up there in age. He's 36 now, almost 37, and he's fighting a guy on kind of the opposite streak, 4-fight win streak. Is Youssef Zalal. Most recently, arm triangle choke of the recently retired Jack Shore. I think you and I were both pretty heavy on that Zalal by sub prop, if I remember
Yeah, when he
correctly.
hit him with that knee, I was like, don't follow up, and then he got his neck. Yeah, man, I think the odds are way off. Like,
Yeah.
I think they're way, way off. Because Calvin Cater's still, 2, 3 levels above what Zalal's been fighting. Zalal looks so damn good.
Mhm.
I think the odds are way off, but I still think Zalal wins. I think Cater's on his way out, especially coming off the injuries. I think Zalal can replicate something that Aljo did and kind of just wear on his back against the cage for a lot of the fight. Um, I don't know if we'll get a finish. I don't know if it'll be that entertaining, but I do think Zalal wins. Yeah.
I agree. I'm very hesitant, though. I'm probably betting Calvin Cater. Say what you will, Calvin's nothing if not tough. I mean, hasn't really been finished aside from that uh, weird knee injury. And if you look at his recent run, Yusuf Zalal has been these have all been pretty early, like round one or early round two finishes. And I don't know. It's something I look at like a Calvin Cater decision prop. Maybe he takes over halfway through the fight. Notoriously not tough to take down, tough to hold down. That's a better way to say it. So yeah, Zalal's the pick. Cater probably shows up on our betting show, depending on some of these prop bet odds. Maybe decision, maybe I don't know. Maybe a plus money. This would be a good like plus 3.5 Cater, in my opinion. But we'll talk about that later. What we'll talk about next is a banger of a fight.
Awesome fight.
Main
Awesome
event,
fight.
middleweight. Uh, Number 7 ranked Jared Cannonier plus 170 versus unranked Gregory Hobocop Rodrigues minus 205.
Just call him HoboCop.
I did the Rodrigues and I'm like the Hobocop, RoboCop, as we will not say Gregory Rodrigues from now on. It will be RoboCop exclusively. Podcast favorite. I am kind of confident that He is one of my favorite fighters of all time, and I am pretty sure he's one of yours. You know, we met him before, Killcliff guy. We've been around him. Um, yeah, main event.
Did we see him
Mm,
fight in Boston? He elbowed the back of that dude's head off.
yeah, I want to say Dennis Bazooka. That's not right.
No, it's
Dennis Tululin.
Tallulah. Yeah, he
Yeah,
elbowed
that
the
was
shit out of
great.
the back of his neck. It's
Um,
bad.
yeah, that kind of kicked off a 3 fight winning streak. He had that weird knockout loss against Bruno Ferreira, Hulk, which
It'll
yeah,
happen. It'll
it'll
happen.
happen. But since then, he's a great beat the brakes off Dennis Tululin, finished Brad Tavares. He was one of the first guys to actually finish Brad Tavares
He put it
um,
on him.
on him. In actually, he's the only guy. Oh wait, never mind. That's not true. It's still impressive. It's still impressive.
For
Um,
sure. No doubt.
and then he beat Christian Leroy Duncan, a very good win last time out in was that Manchester 304.
Yeah. Aspinall
Um,
Blades, I think that event's was, yeah.
yeah. On the other side, Jared Cannonier on a little bit of a skid. You know, he had a great 2022, 2023, beat the former champion Sean Strickland, beat Marvin Vittori, really putting on Marvin Vittori. Middleweight significant strike record in that fight, if I remember correctly. And then he's had a pretty rough run since then. Knocked out against Nashmi Mimvov. Protest the stoppage. I think it was a kind of a bad stoppage. He was still losing that fight, probably on his way to losing it fully. And then he lost last time out to Kyle Bahayo, also pretty convincingly. And yeah, kind of two guys on intersecting. One guy's on the way up, one guy's on the way down. How do you guys, Rodriguez, screw that, RoboCop, minus 205 favorite. He's not just our chat or our podcast favorite. He's a minus 205 favorite, and that kind of tells you um, what people think about him. I'll kick us off here. I'm going RoboCop. I mean, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, black belt, you name it. He's got that in his back pocket, but he's been striking, and Cannonier's been hurt in uh, several of his recent fights. I think I don't know. It might not be as clean as some of RoboCop's most recent wins, especially the last one. He just kind of uh, took down Christian Leroy Duncan and wasn't the most active, but I think he can kind of beat Cannonier wherever he wants. Cannonier's pretty old. He's 40. I don't know. Are you with me?
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I'm on RoboCop. The one thing I think Cannonier's still great. I think he came to middleweight a little bit too late into his career,
Mm-hmm.
age-wise especially. Um, I think his skills are all there. I just don't think he eats a shot well anymore because if you
No,
remember, he put it on Marvin Vittori, but he almost got put out in the first round against him. Marvin
I
Vittori
do.
hurt him badly in the first round, and then the fight switched. Marvin Vittori doesn't hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I do think the Imavov fight was early, but whatever. He still got finished by him. And then the way he got dropped against Kyle Barajo was just insane. Like usually when you fall like he fell, the fight just stops. It's
Yeah.
done. Like when you go whoa, like a
Yeah. Look at the Izzy fight.
wacky inflatable tube man.
Yeah.
Um, it's unfortunate. I like get Jared Cannonier. But yeah, I think RoboCop is gonna take him down and beat the shit out of him. So, yeah, until he gives up or gets submitted, I think RoboCop can do either of those things. I think
Yeah.
RoboCop has more paths to victory. The only way Cannonier wins this if he catches Rodriguez, which is possible, of course. Um, but with that being said, I'm definitely gonna go RoboCop by TKO.
Interesting. I haven't decided on TKO over submission yet or decision, but we are with you or we're together on that one. And that is our card. I'll ask you for a quick rating out of 10. The entire card. What do you think? Is this a
By
10?
name factor or possible excitement factor?
All the above. All the above.
I'll give it a 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 7. I think there's some. I think there's going to be a lot of action. Some sneaky good.
Oh
A
yeah, no doubt.
lot of finishers on here. So yeah, that's our card. But that's not all for you. Stick around. We still have a few things. First up, regional minute. I know if you just fast forwarded through the episode to get to this part, it's finally here. I know how much everybody loves regional MMA. No, I'm just kidding. I do love regional MMA. Hopefully, we get a little bit of a better week next week. I've looked a little ahead. This is not the best week for regional MMA. I'll go ahead and run through. There's still fights because there's always fights, but what are you going to do? First up, we have Aries FC 29 on the 14th. That's Friday, Valentine's Day. So if you're, if you're in need of something on Valentine's Day, this card kicks off at 1 p.m. on Fight Pass.
Damn.
Abubakar Yonosuov is what I'm going to say. I always mess up his name. Bantamweight champion, defending his title. We have Budo Cento Championship 27 in Mexico, 8:30 p.m. on Friday, also on Fight Pass. Some okay fights, nobody really to call out. I mean, go to our buddy at MMA Prospects, Cooler. He'll tell you the best fights. There's nothing that really stands out to me here. Levels Fight League on the 16th. That's Sunday at noon. Internet pay-per-view. They have a weird thing over there. It's a bit of a strange. The Dutch still haven't figured out Fight Pass, but we'll give them a break. Main event: Jarno Aarons, former UFC fighter, is fighting Kyle Machado. Not the Kyle Machado you're thinking of, the heavyweight from Canada. A different Kyle Machado. Also fought in LFA though. That had to have been hell for the LFA matchmakers. And then back to Friday, 9 p.m. We have Tough Enough 141 on UFC Fight Pass. I wouldn't have mentioned it if it weren't on UFC Fight Pass. Okay card, 1 or 2 guys who maybe you keep an eye out for, but for the most part, a lot of debuts, a lot of vets. Is what I'm going to say. UWC Ultimate Warrior Challenge Mexico 55. Back to Sunday at 6 p.m. Also on Fight Pass. Same thing as the card before. There's one guy, Alan Martinez, 11-0 record. We'll see. Maybe a Contender Series guy. It's so tough to tell with this Latin American scene. And then last but not least, on Saturday at 1 p.m., we have WOW 16 on UFC Fight Pass in Spain. So that's the 1 p.m. start time. A few good fighters here. UFC is looking to go to Spain, so maybe you keep an eye on some of these guys, but I don't know. There's not the wow factor.
Agreed.
Speaking of wow factor, that's all for regional MMA. Speaking of wow factor, next week we have UFC Fight Night, Cejudo versus Song, or UFC Seattle, however you want to call it. UFC's back. Pretty good card, I'll say. 2 fights, which are still TBD, haven't officially been announced. Michael Chiesa and Rob Font don't have opponents. We'll see if they show up. But excluding those 2, I should mention Dominic Cruz, bantamweight legend, out of the fight against Rob Font, officially retired now.
Sad to see.
So yeah. Will, what is your favorite fight off next week's card?
It's probably going to be my boy Brendan Allen. He is fighting Fluffy Rodriguez. I think that's a good rematch. A lot of people don't know they fought before in the LFA. Brendan lost a decision in the LFA. Great fight, though. I think they were both in very different stages of their career. Yeah, and I think Brendan's going to come back and have a "You Must Have Forgot" performance and win. And he's gonna strangle Fluffy.
Yeah. Shout out. I
Shout out.
am not going to pick that one. I always like to pick a different one just to give the listeners a little bit more. I'm going to go with Edson Barboza versus Steve Garcia. One of those banger. You'll never catch me not watching an Edson Barboza fight. I love him. Steve Garcia had been a wrecking machine in the past. I mean, I think he beat the Did he beat the Canadian? Machine?
Kyle Nelson.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah, he elbowed the shit out of the back of his head, but who cares?
What are
Who
you gonna do?
cares?
It was a win. So yeah, that's next week's card.
Oh.
And that is this week's card. Keep an eye out for our betting show, best bets. We'll give you a little bit more of the breakdown, what we're actually putting our money on, what not to touch this week. And yeah.
And we'll have a guest with us too.
We will have a guest.
Yeah.
Haven't recorded it yet, so don't want to say the name. You know how showbiz goes, Will. But
We signed an NDA.
Pretty excited to have him on. Yes, and thanks so much for joining me today, Will. It's been great, and
No doubt, man. Thank
you, viewer, listener, whoever you are, for watching us, putting us in your eyes, your ears. Hopefully, that's the only place you're putting us. But I'll let that be up to you. Watch it. All right. Thanks, everybody.